Hey everybody, Gromos here with another War Thunder Simulator Battle video. And today I want to take a look at some premium planes in War Thunder and their applicability in historic lineups for historic enduring confrontation mode, with some hopefully entertaining gameplay footage of a few of them in the background. Now, a bit of backstory on that, since it has been a while since the latest historic enduring confrontation test. In late December and early January we had the enduring confrontation test with historic lineups on Stalingrad, Ruhr and Khalkhin Gol. If you don't know what enduring confrontation is, I made a few videos on that you can check out. As well as the normal queue was still up. Now, this model has been generally hailed as the perfect solution for future simulator battles by many simulator battle players, including myself, as it provides something for everybody's taste. Historic matchups that most of the simulator battle community want, without having to worry about battle ratings and captured planes, yet also the normal queue that allows you to use them still. Sadly, early in January this model was, despite overwhelmingly positive feedback from both the international and Russian simulator battle community, removed. Sadly, there's still no news on when it will return. Now, some said that Gaijin might be reluctant to introduce the historic enduring confrontation mode because it might have a negative effect on premium plane sales, as many of them are of course very unsuitable for that, being prototypes and captured planes, and who knows, that might be the case. I hope not, as this would be very short-sighted and in my opinion a bad business decision. Growing the community will bring in more money, and making the community happy leads to people being more willing to spend money on things like premium planes, and a few other reasons I will come to. But that did give me an idea to make this video and take a look at the premium planes in-game and their suitability for historic enduring confrontation mode. Talk a little bit about what I consider a good premium plane in War Thunder simulator battles, which nations' trees have some good choices, and what I would like to see in the future for premium options in War Thunder. Now, a few things I have to say first. First of all, don't worry, I don't want to take any planes away from you. While this video is about what planes are well suited for historic matchups in simulator battle, the point of having historic matchups as well as the normal queue is that you can play any plane in the normal queue like you always could. The second thing is, since I talk about good choices for historic enduring confrontation mode, battle rating is not an issue. Some premium planes have questionable battle ratings, of course, this is not big news, but in a historic lineup this is of no concern. As a matter of fact, when it comes to battle ratings, I have to say I officially do not care anymore. I talked enough in the past about why a system like the battle rating system isn't very suitable for simulator battles, so did many others, and the historic enduring confrontation mode tests have proven spectacularly that historic matchups in simulator battle enduring confrontation don't just work, but are absolutely amazing and the most fun I ever had in War Thunder. There is no more excuse left to avoid introducing it. So I operate under the assumption that the historic enduring confrontation mode will come back in the model we have seen in December and January. If the developers want to take some more time to flesh it out, and if they want to keep that a secret, okay, I'll accept it for now, but I won't wait forever. For now I have to show you the planes in battle rating enduring confrontation, of course. Well then, anyway, let's jump into it. I would like to start with explaining what in my opinion makes a good premium plane in simulator battles, especially with historic lineups in mind. Now, the basics are pretty much as one would expect, of course. The plane should have existed, it should have been in service, proper service, with the nation in which trees it is in, and it should have been used enough that there are options for the plane to put it in historic lineups, either specific battles like the Battle of Stalingrad, or more general, say Eastern Front 1943 type lineups, which I would also like to see in the rotation for historic enduring confrontation mode. And as a bonus, to really make a plane a good premium plane for me, the plane in question should be for some reason something special in its tree, something to give it some desirability. And this is the reason why we are looking at footage of the Soviet Hurricane Mark II, as this is in my opinion one of the best examples for a premium plane in War Thunder that checks all those boxes. The Hurricane was of course used in large numbers by the Russian Air Force, as it was one of the most numerous Lend-and-Lease planes, so there's an ample opportunity for this plane to be in all kinds of historic lineups. Furthermore though, the plane is special in that it is not fitted with British weapons but Russian ones, which makes this plane an interesting hybrid and the reason why I got it. The Hurricanes were rearmed on the Eastern Front in this or a similar fashion, and this is well known, and the Mark II's flying in this configuration we have here in combat is documented, not just one plane but multiple ones. So this setup is both unique and special, as well as historically correct, and this makes the Hurricane a perfect example for what I like in a premium plane in War Thunder for simulator battles, and also shows that you don't need to dig up prototypes and paper planes to get unique planes. There are more than enough that actually existed and saw service. This is something I would like to see more of. Now, since we of course also have a Mark II Hurricane in the British tree, although with a different armament, some might claim that this plane is a copy and paste plane, and this is something some might object to. I however don't have a problem with this, with planes getting copied over to another nation with a different skin. On the contrary, I think that is a quick and easy way to get some nice premium planes in the game, often needed ones like the B-39s in the USSR tree. Or Kitty Hawks for the British would also be nice. What I do have a problem with is when they get copied over to the wrong side, which never use them. However, there are solutions for this in historic matchups as well, which I will talk about. But for now, with the Battle Rating EC mode, those planes are what then leads to situations we have now, with half the German teams in the Battle Rating 3.3 range being LA-5FNs and Thunderbolts fighting US Thunderbolts over the Ruhr. Or a little higher up, German Focke-Wulf 90 A8s running into US Focke-Wulf 90s in bright orange. This is the kind of thing many simulator battle players, including myself, don't want to see in a game mode that is called Simulator. Unless, however, there is a choice. That is a point that I think Gaijin also has trouble understanding, the importance of having a choice in those matters, because if I have my 3 historic lineups in a rotation as well as the normal queue, things are looking a bit different. If I can play those historic EC modes all the time, then I don't mind looking into the normal queue every now and then, flying some interesting prototypes or paper planes, or fighting a Thunderbolt in my Thunderbolt to see who comes out ahead in this mirror matchup. I have no problem doing this every now and then for fun, if it is my choice. That's the big difference, however. Currently, with only the Battle Rating EC mode, you don't have a choice. If you fly a battle over the Ruhr, for example, half the German team will be in Thunderbolts and LA-5s. You will run into bright orange American Focke-Wulf 90s and yellow striped B-63s looking like they escaped from the latest Reno air race. You have no choice in the matter. That's one reason why I think that fears that introducing the historic matchups leads to less premium sales, should they truly exist, are completely unfounded. The opposite would happen, because if I, as well as everybody else, has a choice of flying a historic matchup or the normal queue all the time, I and many others would be much more inclined taking a look at, say, some rare prototypes, if we know by flying it we are not forcing it on people that prefer a proper historical matchup. So by giving people a choice between a normal queue and historic matchups like we had in December and January, many planes that for some simulator battle players that place a high value on realism were a no-go, now are a real option. Just something how people think. If they want a historic matchup and are annoyed that they can't get it because of all the prototypes, they won't buy those themselves because they don't want to see them. If you however give them those historic matchups they want, they will in many cases not have an issue anymore with trying something else on occasions. Something to think about. Anyway, back to some good premiums for historic lineups. Now, another one I think is quite nice is the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation Boomerang. Another example for a plane that is both interesting and unique, but was used in multiple campaigns in the Pacific as a ground attack plane, so there's lots of opportunity to have it in EC lineups. So, with a bit of an overview of what I consider important for premium planes, let's take a look at what we currently have available in the trees in War Thunder, and what I would like to see added and changed. I have to say though that I only consider premiums that actually show up in the tree in-game. There are some specials that do not. Now, let's start with some positive examples. The British tree is certainly the best place for premium planes, if you have an interest in some historic accuracy. As a matter of fact, the British lineup is pretty exceptional and does not have a single example of a premium that I don't like. All of them were in service and could show up in historic lineups. Even the little Wirraway saw combat and supposedly even shot down a Zero. There are a few copy and paste planes which again I have no issue with as long as they are used by the proper nation. We have a British Hellcat as well as British Avengers for example. And I would like to use those as an example for a little addition I would like to see to planes like this, which I think would greatly increase their value for not too much work in enduring confrontation mode. For premium planes like the Hellcat, what I would like to see is if they could come with a second skin, a paint job and markings of the nation the plane came from, but locked and only usable in certain circumstances. The idea behind it would be pretty simple. We have, for example, a British Hellcat Mark I that is, at least as far as War Thunder goes, identical to the US F6 F3 Hellcat, at least should be. Now, if the game would have the option to automatically change the skin of the plane to the US one, what you could do in Enduring Confrontation mode lineups is, if there's a battle where US Hellcats took part, but not British ones, allow British premium Hellcats to take part in it as well. If the game would have the ability to automatically pick the proper US skin, you would not notice the difference in game. And this way you could put premium planes like this in a much larger selection of lineups without a negative effect on historic accuracy. This would greatly increase the value of said plane and therefore most likely have a positive effect on its sales, which is why I think it would be worth the effort. And there are a few more examples for this I will talk about later. Now, the British tree also has a few very interesting planes like the Boomerang I already mentioned, the Verraway and the French D520, which are all unique. Also somewhat unique I think is Pendergast's FR Mark 14E Spitfire. Now, this is a photo reconnaissance variant of the plane. It is however still fully armed, also an interesting concept of which I would like to see more of, and I bring another good example for what I would like to see here later. If we have a few more recon fighters like this, one could also include recon missions in EC mode. There are some interesting options for this. For example, there could be a mission to overfly and recon an area in the rear of the enemy at a certain height and from a certain direction and recon it, and if you bring that information back to base, you get points for it. This could be something that all planes can do, but if you fly a recon plane like the FR Mark 13, you get extra points. Furthermore, if you bring the recon information back, what you found, for example an artillery emplacement or a supply depot, could then show up as a target for your bombers and ground attackers, and if something you discovered gets destroyed, you get bonus points. There's lots of interesting things you could do here in Enduring Confrontation mode. Anyway, let's take a look at the next nation, the one with the second best lineup for premiums from a historic perspective, and that is the Russian tree. That might surprise some, but if you don't worry about battle ratings, this is the case. Here is only one plane I have trouble with, and that is the captured Focke-Wulf 90D9. All others in the tree are perfectly fine. Existed, saw action, and so on, and there are some interesting planes here. We already talked about the Hurricane. There is also this Lux 334, a Lux 3 with a 37mm cannon, which was successfully used versus bombers. Not so much versus tanks like the description says. Anyway, this is also a good option for an interesting plane which existed and saw service and can show up in a number of lineups on the Eastern Front. Now, the B-63 of course fits better here than it does in the normal US tree, and evidence suggests that they were used on the Eastern Front in the later stages of World War II, for example over Berlin. Even the B-47 is okay, though not the best choice. It was in service with the Russian Air Force, though not used a lot. So, looking just at those two trees, the British and the USSR R1, things look pretty good. Almost everything can be used in a historic setting here. Sadly, from here on out things go downhill. So let's take a look at the German tree. Now here the planes that fit in a historic lineup are heavily outnumbered by those that do not. We have the CR-42 and the Heinkel 112B1 at rank 1, which are okay. The Heinkel 112 saw combat with the Romanian Air Force, for example, and then we also have a Romanian Bf-109 and Henschel 129. As with the Hellcat in the British tree, I would like to have an option for the game to automatically give those the original skin in some circumstances, so that people that bought them can use them in scenarios where only German versions took part, increasing their versatility. Other than that, we got one prototype, the D-13, and a huge amount of captured planes like the LA-5FN, IL-2, Yak-1B and the like, which do not fit in a historic scenario. Except, however, I would like to see them in a historic lineup anyway. Okay, how does that fit together? Well, think about it. One suggestion that comes up often for captured planes in simulator battle is that they should fly for their original site. Now, I think that this would actually not be that hard to implement in a historic Enduring Confrontation lineup, with one small addition which I already mentioned, giving the game the ability to automatically apply the original skin to the plane. A historic EC lineup is a fixed lineup. It would then be possible to just allow the captured Russian planes in the German tree on the USSR side. Now you can't mix them, but if you for example own a captured LA-5, IL-2 and Yak-1B and there is an Eastern Front lineup that allows them, and you think you want to unlock German planes, but you're in the mood to fly Russian planes, you put those 3 in your lineup, join the game sees you have a captured A5, IL-2 and Yakon B in your lineup, those are allowed on the Russian side, so it puts you on the Russian side, puts the original skin on the plane, and off you go, making it possible to use captured planes in historic events. As I've said, you could not mix the planes with normal ones, but still you could use the captured planes in historic events this way on the original side, again making it a more viable option for simulator battle players that place a high value on realism than they are now, increasing their sales. And if you have only one such captured plane and it has a timer, the game gives you a free plane to start with anyway in inventory confrontation mode. Now back to the German tree. One plane I would like to see as a premium on the German side is a Bf-109 G6, which is why I'm flying one here. For the reason why, I have to explain real quickly a change to the normal tree I would like to see. Now the G6 we have in game at the moment, as many of you know, uses a MW50 injection, and that actually turns the plane into a G14, more or less, which we already have. Now, the Bf-109 G6 is the most produced Bf-109 and therefore has some historic significance, which is why I would like to see it in game in its proper configuration, not as a fake G14 one. Now, while MW50 injection was tested on the G6, I can't find evidence that it entered service on the fighter version of the G6. MW50 wasn't used operationally on G6 fighters, only from the G14 onwards. Where it was used on the G6, however, was on the G6/R2. That is a photo reconnaissance version of the plane, however still armed, similar to the FR Mark 14 Spitfire, and this is what I would like to see as a premium in the German tree, with the normal G6 getting its proper settings without MW50 back. Also interesting in my opinion would be to have the Bf-109 F4/R1 with gunports as a proper type, as it should be. Now those are just a few ideas. Let's take a quick look at the last 2 trees. On the Japanese side we again have quite a few captured planes, and I have already said what I would like to see for them. Now the most interesting here in my opinion is the Ki-44 Otsu with its 40mm cannons. Now one plane I would like to see here as a premium is the Italian Fiat BR-20 bomber. This plane would be interesting being an Italian bomber fighting for the Japanese Air Force and saw service for example in the Battle of Khalkhin Gol. And again, one could give it an Italian skin, so it could be used as an Italian plane in an European and Eastern Front theater as well, increasing its value. Now the US tree also has more captured and prototype planes than proper ones. As a matter of fact, there is not one actual service plane in the entire 2nd and 3rd rank for the US premiums. However, if the whole skin swap would be implemented, you can make a great premium Japanese lineup. The most interesting plane in the lineup at the moment in my opinion would be the P-47M Thunderbolt. This is an example for a unique plane, a Thunderbolt tuned for high speed, which did saw combat. Its implementation could be better though, as it should not have the capability to carry bombs and rockets. The plane was not meant for that. Well, and with that we are coming to the end of this video. I hope I could explain a bit what I would like to see in a premium plane and why I think fears that historic lineups would reduce sales of premium planes are unfounded and the opposite is more likely to happen. Well, and this is it for this video. Thanks for watching and maybe I'll see you next time.